Yeah. Do we have 2 hours to talk about me? And then,
Yeah.
well, so this is it's becoming a tradition. Every semester we come together, and it was started off with me having a conversation with Kelly about my research, and Kelly having the intuition and I think foresight to say, wait a minute, this is something that we can use. This would be really neat for the students, and so we experimented with it the first semester, and it really there was some growing pains that went with that, trying to figure out what worked and what didn't. But then, really over time, it's become more and more predictable and more specific areas that we focus on. Just to refresh your memories, and for those of you who haven't worked with me before, I interrupt. I mean, you do your scene first, then the second time you do your scene, I interrupt, and we talk about things not in terms of direction. We don't talk about it in terms of no blocking. No, I'm not an actor. I'm not a director, and none of my skills have to do with that. What we talk about it starts with the audience experience, because in everyday life, we diffuse anxiety. And we do things to diffuse anxiety, but you don't necessarily want to diffuse the audience's anxiety. We time our responses in ways that really minimize unpredictability or minimize experiences that cause us to squirm in our seats, and yet we don't want to rob the audience of those experiences. So much of what we do has to do with engendering, creating audience experiences. The second thing has to do with the fact that we are always communicating. And so we do things in our body language and even in our inflection, in the length of silence, those sorts of things. We communicate extra meaning, or we can sometimes take away meaning in just the way that we say things. So I've become more and more familiar with the styles of different authors. I couldn't tell you who they are, but once I kind of know what we're doing, I kind of get the idea underlying it. Chekhov, of course, is the one I'm most familiar with. As far as I'm concerned, he was a psychologist. He was a lot of what he did was incredibly profound from a psychological perspective, and I sometimes get what he was trying to communicate, and I'll bring that to your attention. And you have the option to use it or not use it.
And so what we'll sometimes do is we'll sometimes hear from Rand, and then Kelly or I or Lanny will say things like, okay, so what he said, and we'll put it in our terms. And we'll combine the two. So you know, Rand will say, well, let's try a longer pause there, and we'll suggest perhaps that you need a better image there. Those sorts of things. So.
And I have no clue what any of that means. And then the other thing that's really important is that it would be very easy to construe what I'm telling you as telling you how to say your lines, and that's not what we're doing. It really is about challenging you to experience your character differently. And sometimes you come in with a really clear idea about what it is that you think the character is supposed to be, and then I'll say, well, why don't we do this? And I'll sometimes say, I'd like you to work with this, saying it in this way, because I want you to experience the character differently, not because you were saying your line wrong. We did one where you had a real, I can't remember what the play was, but it was like, the very first time I worked with you was a guy that was wanting to ask a girl out, but he was kind of a lunatic.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
And you played it as a lunatic, and I asked you to play it as a normal person who is a lunatic, who play it, because lunatics don't look like lunatics. But it's more disturbing to the audience to have those lines come out of the person looking completely normal than looking like a lunatic. Because you did a great job looking like a lunatic. but to experiment with that, sometimes we talk about intimacy and what happens in intimacy versus unfamiliarity. Sometimes I'll ask you to hold something longer and create an uncomfortable sort of moment, and where we would avoid that in everyday life, we certainly don't avoid that here. So it's uncomfortable. I just want to tell you right now, it is. And would any of you like to vouch for that or not? Because I think it is. It's uncomfortable. It stretches you a little bit. It sometimes puts you in a place that you weren't really prepared to be in. And we agree to trust each other. I agree that I am not going to hold back because my loyalty is to you. So if I have a thought, I put it there for you to think about out of loyalty, not out of trying to perfect you, but to giving you an experience that's memorable, an experience that has the potential of changing how you think about your acting. And it's worked out that way. I mean, you've probably been, are you the veteran of this group as far as?
I'm one of them, me and Angela both, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might have been here the first year you came, too.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking.
Yeah.
And we've evolved, but I think that don't be afraid of that. You know, kind of go with it. Your brain will go, no, I don't want to do it. He's telling me how to do my lines. And I'm saying, roll with it, try it, and then go back and doing it wrong later.
So Kelly gave us a list of 5 pairs who we wanted to try to work today. Obviously, we're probably not going to get to 5 people,
Yep.
five scenes. But what Lanny was wondering, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I think it might be beneficial for people who haven't worked with you before to have the opportunity, if that's okay with you. And so, do you want to read who's...
Yeah, Jet and Heidi, Nick and Madeline, Millie and Hillary, Quinn and Heather, and Becca and Eric. I know some of you have. I know for a fact some of you have.
Sitting in this chair.
No.
But, well, what about, have you